Hey there, this is UAP. Welcome to the UAP channel. I'm going to be talking about the West. Oh, by the way, thank you for all your well wishes on the passing of my mom. Just a wonderful lady. And if it weren't for her sassiness when told to get an abortion because she's too old to have a child, I wouldn't be here, would I? No, I wouldn't. I would not. Well, let's look at the West. Now, what if I told you how the West was won, how the West was found? Would you believe my story? It's a land nobody lives on. People have been around for millions of years, they say, or hundreds of thousands of years. When the great ape stood on its legs erect, it was the original and most significant erection ever. And apparently happened because of a monolith being there. I don't know. Well, no, that's the movie 2001. And they throw the bone up in the sky and it cuts into a fake satellite in fake space. Well, that's something else. No, what if I told you a story that there was an age of exploration because boats existed for thousands of years, but only in the 1400s or beyond, maybe, only then did people realize that they could indeed use the boats to explore other lands. And with this newfound knowledge began the age of exploration. And an explorer got on a boat to find another continent. And to find this continent, the explorer sailed with the wind. With the wind. Heck, it could have drifted like driftwood. And no matter what, he ends up on the shore of another continent and discovers it. But because of the prevailing winds, sailing back is impossible. No, wait, it's not impossible. It's certainly possible. And he could have sailed back. But no one ever did. In fact, nobody on this continent knew of anybody landing on the other continent because they never came back. And why? No one knows. Now, what am I talking about? Am I talking about the Europeans? No, because the Europeans always sailed back because they discovered everything, didn't they? No, the story I'm telling you about is how the West was discovered. The western parts of North America were discovered by the Asians. Could have been the Japanese. Could have been the Chinese. Could have been the Vietnamese. Could have been the Koreans. Who knows? Who cares? Because nobody knows. Because nobody cares. Because apparently they didn't do it. But wait. It would make sense if they did, because the prevailing winds carry debris and driftwood from Asia to the coasts of North America. In fact, when the tsunami happened in Japan, there was a lot of stuff from Japan that washed up on the west coast of the United States, for example, and Canada. Now, this is something that would be typically logically assumed and talked about. But has it been talked about? Well, certainly no. It has not been talked about, and I would like to know why. Well, I don't think there are any answers, but let's have a look at this. This is Google Earth, and I took a look at Baja California, and I'm looking at, this would be just like Southern California, right? It would be exactly like it, but it is not at all like Southern California. And why is that? Look at it. I mean, there's hardly anything there. Now we're looking at California, and then it's totally different. Why is that? Now look, the West is certainly different from the East. You say, well, there's a mountain range. Well, yeah, but the East is green. The West isn't. Well, it's more arid. Well, why? Well, whatever. It's a desert. Yeah, but why? Because it is. Because it always was. Was it? We don't know. No one knows. Well, somebody does, probably. But it's not just a desert, it's a desert wasteland. Now, you could say, well, that's because it's on the western side and the winds come off the ocean, and that means that it'll be deserty. Well, does it really? Because Europe doesn't have a huge desert running up through it. No, I think something else went on. It certainly looks catastrophic. So let's take a look at the maps. Now, California was an island. The island of California. And that's sold to us as a children's story. This is in the Library of Congress under fictional maps, geography of places characters inhabit. That'd be like a map of Hollywood, map of Washington, D.C. in my mind. But no, they're talking about California. And it's something that is in children's literature because it primes kids to learn geography with maps of real places later in life, because California isn't a real place. Well, in some senses, that may be true, but I think California was a real place in the past. And when they mapped areas, they did a very good job everywhere else. Why would they have done such of a piss-poor job on California? What if it really was an island? I think it was. Now, they say map projections can distort the sizes of countries. Sure can. I think almost every map that we are given is a distortion. And it leads to an unfaithful representation of how the world really looks. I think every representation of how the world really looks is improper and unfaithful. It does say in the Bible not to make anything depicting things in heaven or of the earth or below the earth and blah, blah, blah. So that would be a graven image. Okay. Well, I don't know. So if they're telling us that this is not accurate, this is the government that loves you, the government that tells you the truth all the time, yeah. Well, they're telling you that this isn't real. I bet you it's real. And I love this little part they say here. Charting with insufficient information can lead to wildly inaccurate maps, such as during the Age of Discovery when many explorers believed California was an island separated from the mainland of North America. What about maps in children's books? Are they always reliable? Well, this isn't a map from a children's book. It's not. This is a pretty good representation, I think, of this island of California that it once was. Now here, the 1650 map, Nicholas Sanson, Amerique, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this one, again, shows the island of California, and it's not too different from the other one. You've got the 4 islands. I mean, these are pretty much almost exactly the same, guys. And you have your mountains there. I guess that would be the Sierra Nevadas, and then the Rockies on the other side, with a river running betwixt them, which would make sense. And I'm not sure why up north it ends. Now this is the one I want to focus on a little bit more. This one is representative of what you typically would find in around 1650. And this is that septenarial, septenarial. I'm not pronouncing it very well. But the expanse of Canada is very well explored from the east, and then it makes sense that there would be exploration of the west side that is accessible as well as the east, if not from Asia, if not from Asia, even from Europe, just sailing around the Horn, the Bend, or through the Panama Canal, which was probably already there and functioning. Now, here again, the island of California, consistently shown, the 4 islands separating or straddling betwixt those nethers, betwixt the mainland and the island of California. It's very specific and very detailed. It would seem to me that there would be a territorial, I almost said Tatarian, territorial agreement or some kind of unacceptable danger that prevents people from going through that uncharted area shown, which is pretty much the path that Lewis and Clark took. Now, why wouldn't it have been mapped just by sailing up the west coast? I mean, the weather couldn't be better year-round. It's probably the easiest place in the New World to explore. There aren't hurricanes. It's just easy, smooth sailing, literally. Smooth sailing, and if you get trouble, the wind blows you right back to land. You know, you almost can't go wrong. You don't get blown out to sea and stuff like that as easily. So what's the deal? Well, what is the deal? Let's have a look here. It's interesting how detailed they have the cities named. Now here's another one. This one's by Charles. North America, divided into the principal parts, where are distinguished the several states which belong to the English, Spanish, and French. Really? Okay. But Charles II, okay. Land of Gesso or Jekko, Sea of Gesso. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. And it says congruous land. I didn't know there was land over there. Interesting. And you have the Straits of Anlan, something like that. Sea of California. You have California. You got those 4 islands. And the Sea of Vermelho. And yeah, well, And again, you go up. It's interesting, the mountain range that swoops down back over like that isn't there anymore. But Florida's pretty well faithfully represented. Cuba, the Caribbean Sea. I mean, it's all there. Even the Great Lakes in this map, they look a little bit more. They look more like what the Great Lakes are to us here. But it's interesting how the Northwest, the Canadian part mostly, but the Pacific Northwest, and then the northern middle part of the continent are hidden. And then on the other side of these mountains, some of which don't exist anymore, there's also basically just names of what we think of as Native American nations. But these nations may have been, they may have been the ones occupying the pre-existing structures that we call mud flooders. Now, these things are very, very misrepresented on purpose, if you would ask me. Not just the maps, but I think the peoples, the names, the Navajo, okay, the names of these Native American tribes, what we think of when we hear those names may have almost nothing to do with what it meant when this map was made. I think if you picture a civilization that exists even today, you could have somebody who are like hippies who go and they live off the grid because things got crazy. And we can understand that now very well. It doesn't take much to imagine. Think of all the preppers out there, all you guys with your bug out bags who are like, you probably have one hand on your bug out bag right now. You probably refreshed it or whatever a week ago. Well, you guys, and I'm with you, I got stuff like that. We all know that it doesn't take much for the whole society that you live in to turn into Mr. Hyde, if it was even Dr. Jekyll in the first place. It's kind of like I'm finding out that most of society is like Mr. Hyde, that was magically transformed into Dr. Jekyll somehow, and the spell is wearing off and they're turning back into Mr. Hyde. I mean, what is going on that in under a couple of months, some evil convinces everybody to wear useless, pointless, disturbing, insane things on their face everywhere, and to get on each other if they don't do it, even though there's no reason to do it. I don't know. I mean, that's just shocking. And so what we think of the Native Americans, I mean, these may be people who are quite civilized but had to depart and leave their civilization and live basically like hippies for generations. And it doesn't take many generations for all the knowledge and things to be lost. And, and they were all, almost all of them were moved. And when they're moved, they're re-educated. And when they're re-educated, they're taught about their own history from people who maybe aren't telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? So do we really know the Native American history? I don't know. And I do say that with all due respect. I'm not Native American, and all I'm saying is I don't know. And if somebody's certain that they do know, that's great. It's just that I personally, you can tell me things, but I don't know. So this is another map, and this is the, forgot the name of this one. I guess it's I'm not going to say it if I don't know it. But you can look, there's California again. There's those 4 islands, and right there in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, you have your Apaches, Vaqueros. So what was there? We don't see a lot of architecture there. I think there was a lot of destruction before, but somehow the destruction continued, and it was right around the time of one of these mud floods. So, interesting, right? Yes. Now we'll just continue on because I have more. But wait, there's more. Here's another one. This is the America Septentrional. Something like that. I-688. Aha. Ooh, this one's authentic. It's got the I. And it is showing the Earth as a globular shape. But that would be like, well, they have the Tropic of Cancer. So, okay. So, I don't know if it's a reproduction, but look at the detail. Look at all the names. They got things named, right? All over the place. These things were named out the wazoo, okay? So this is what they knew in I-688. And what is it saying? That's just there's a bunch of buffalo there. See? Okay. Island, California, 4 islands betwixt that and the mainland. Yeah. And South America is totally populated. Cuba is totally hammered with cities, town names, everything. Okay. And the Great Lakes are pretty well represented here in I-688. So I don't think a lot's changed with the Great Lakes. I mean, that looks pretty much like it does today. It's pretty faithful representation of the Great Lakes. Whoever's doing the cartography, they've got the Mississippi River there. They got all kinds of stuff, all right, that we know is there, and it's proper, it's correct. And they've got the island of California right there. There's no Baja Peninsula. It's part of the island of California. All right? So that's how things are. That's how it was. And then they got this depiction of the sinking boat, and someone's holding a map, and she's getting hammered, and some person with a glowing third eye head pop, kind of wings, kind of cloak, is telling her, get your ass to Mars. No, get your ass up north. Get your ass up north. Angels are taking them up there. That's like a rapture, you know. Shitstorm's coming. We're going to take you up to live in Eden because you're too good for this place, especially with what's coming. So, but I don't agree with the rapture. I'm just referring to it as a reference idea, okay? So, here's another map. This one is Gaspesi, okay? And we have a year on this one. Do we have a year? Well, it's around 1650 because that's what I had typed in. Okay, there we go. It's, does that say 1695? 1895? Looks like it's kind of scribbled out. I don't know. But you have the island of California. It's kind of cut off, but there you have it. There are those 4 islands. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, betwixt the mainland and the island of California. And you have, see, that's part of California right there. And it's still part of the Occident. If you don't know about Occident, you've got the Orient. Everyone knows about the Orient. Around here, everyone knows about the Orient. Orientals. Well, did you know you're around here, you're an Occidental? Now, a lot of people's parents tell them that they're an Occident. I asked my parents if I was an Occident, and they said, no, you were a welcome surprise. Well, because we live in the Occident, we are Occidentals. Oops. I'm sorry if you didn't know that, but I'm not an Oriental, I'm Occidental. And it has nothing to do with the apparent shape of your eyes, okay? Well, there's a little bit of correlation there, but hey. I'd like to just hit on stereotypes for comedic effect. But look at this. New Spain. So Mexico, it looks pretty ripped there. There's not a whole lot going on, and they just have these mounds. Like, what the heck's going on there? Floating rocks above these mounds? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think there was a lake there, and the lake drained out, and it wiped the whole region. That's what I think. Myends de barbarians, the Tartarians. I don't know. Beware the mines of Moria. That's from Lord of the Rings. So you have, yeah, the Great Lakes. Okay. So that's another one. How many more do we got? Well, I had to stop after a while, but I kept finding these things, all right? This one, Library of Congress, LOC, Library of Congress, LOC. Hey, I say, don't you know I'm loco? That's the motto of the Library of Congress of the United States of America. Good source. Here, Florida is not quite represented very well. But then again, they didn't represent Florida that well. And look over here. The island of California is equally misrepresented. They do show that the 4 islands are there betwixt the mainland and the island of California, but it's a little different. So this map is like your either something was going on or it was lower budget or done by somebody who's like a C student or something like that. But the person was like an autist. They were like, we know they did have vaccines back then, so there were people with autism. And this person may have had mild autism. Get your autists on it. And why do I say that? Because look at the meticulous work of naming all these coastal towns and cities out the wazoo. Just the tiniest writing. Well, I don't know how big the map is, but they've got them all named all the way up there. Okay? And I don't know what it is. Like, what the hell happens here? When you get to there, what the hell happens, man? The smoke monster come out from Lost, you know, and then like swallow people up and run for your life, or what? You know, do you get up there and you start hearing like an echoing laughter coming from nowhere and everywhere that sounds like Hillary Clinton laughing in slow motion? Ha, 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 ha. You know, that'll send you running. I don't know what it is that stops people. So you have that. But I think it was I don't think it was land full of wild bulls. I think that was added later. I mean, a lot of times the writing is different. You can tell when they just kind of change something. When things get out, they do stuff like that. What is that? They do stuff like that to obscure, obfuscate, conceal the truth. And this whole area that's blank, maybe they kind of wiped it out. And that is a nice excuse. You know, there's what, guys, you know, we couldn't keep exploring. Why? Was it rough terrain? No, it was flat, easy. But there were wild bulls there, and they'd startled us. So, you know, it's like, okay, you guys, you're the ultimate predators, right? You can go anywhere you want. Well, apparently not. I think it was actually a territory of someone who said, get your ass back where it came from. And, you know, hey, we've got all this new stuff to share with you. And they say, no thanks, we're not buying. Here's another one. Okay, this is the Septentrionalis. So this one we saw part of maybe before, but again, a little bit of a different, kind of a photocopy version. What the heck's going on there? Like, what is that stuff they draw? I don't know if you guys are aware, but supposedly the Titanic sank like around here. There ain't no icebergs around there normally, guys. It's just a freak. It's a nice story. That's a nice story. Great Lakes aren't so well represented here, and then they put their little excuses. That's what these maps have. Excuses as to why they didn't explore even further. Map the whole dang realm, guys. Map it. Map it for once and for all. Get it right. Stop being a bunch of pussies and map the whole realm, guys. Come on. No, we couldn't. There were these unicorns that scared us. And there were rabbits and elk and caribou with the big horns like this, and just... there were lions. Lions? No, there weren't. Well, okay, there were mountain lions. Okay, I'll give you that one, but you guys couldn't explore. Look, here, the boat went up there, but it didn't map shit. The boat's there, but they ain't mapping. They went on strike. They said, okay, we mapped the island of California, but just... I don't know. Look, they're gonna put the graphic up there of the half-naked people with all the fancy clothes standing. We don't have to map this area, guys. Let's just chill. What is that guy holding? He's looking through it, and it's like a sigil thing, Like what? What is this ball? What's that ball? And what was here that they covered up? Look, something was written there, and it's just marked out. So what is going on around here? When you do see something that looks like a globe and some really old stuff, like this thing, and they scraped it all out, I think it's the celestial sphere that they're showing. Because the celestial map is a sphere, okay? It doesn't mean you live on the sphere. It just means that your vision dome, as the stars move and the star trails trail, it appears like a sphere, okay? So that's that one. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, we don't have a year on that, did we? Find one. Should be around 1650. I don't see one. It's kind of hard to read. Some of them are higher quality, some of them are not. Oh, I did zoom in on it here. No, not old. Isole de California. So they're pretty adamant. There's those four in the middle. They're pretty adamant about, California, island of California. Yeah. Island, you say. Island. So it's an island. Island, yes. California. Yeah, not just California. Well, what else is there? Island of. Island of California, okay? Got it. Island of California. Are you sure? It's not I love California? No, it's not I love California. It's island of California. Island of. So in another language it would be isole. Yeah. Or isle. Okay. Insel. Yeah, it would be Insel auf Deutsch. Okay, got it. Got it. So it is an island. That's what you're saying. You're saying it's an island. So help you God. Well, it's what we mapped, isn't it, guys? Come on. Are you sure you know how to map? Yes, we know how to map. Are you sure? Yeah, look at Cuba, asshole. Stop. Don't do this shit. Just look at what we made and accept it. Don't do this shit to us. Well, why didn't you map higher? You go and do it. Well, what did you encounter? It was a horrible, terrible fright. We just got tired. Whatever. I don't know. That part, I don't know. But something was going on. I mean, look at this. Like, what the heck's going on there? That guy's got like a miner's hat on with a light bulb shining. Shit's all knocked around, water. And here's a map. They're holding up a sundial. It's like, go that way. You know, see where my titties are pointing? Go the other direction. Oh, boy. I think these are like the angelic type beings. Well, yeah, the one has wings. But they're kind of, angels are created neither male nor female. They got it all, man. They got it all. All right. God created us male and female. In case you didn't know, I think according to Wikipedia, I think there are 72 genders. So, all right, whatever. Okay, now we're going to move on quickly. Here's another one. This is a map that was sold by Christie's. So, you have a Christie's. Yeah, there's one in Paris. There's one in London. So, you have a Christie's. And they sell awesome stuff. This one, $2,500, gets you this map, which is post-Jesuit. So what can you say? But look at how they have every coastal city nailed, man. Nailed down. They know what they're looking at, right? Look at the Amazon. That is mapped, boy. Is it a little bit mapped? It's pretty well mapped, guys. Do you know how hard it is to get to the Amazon? Tain't easy. I don't know what's going on down there. There's a big old void down there. But for the most part, South America, I mean, that is dang accurate, guys. We're talking accurate. In North America, again, yes. They got this shit nailed down. But then look, you go west of the Mississippi. Oh man, the mighty Mississippi. You know that Mark Twain swam in? You can swim it and not drown most of the time. Okay? But they couldn't get across the mighty Mississippi to map that shit. Couldn't go below it. Couldn't go above it. Couldn't go... Well, they did, but something stopped them. It's like the movie The Mask. Somebody stop me. Now this map, wait till you see. I mean, look at the blankness. And the island of California, I think it is erased. I think they got out, I guess it'd be like white out, but it's sepia-out. And they sepia'd that map right out. All right, let's move on. I could say more, but this is the map of America. Some screenshots of this Christie's auction item, okay? Christie's. But look at that. It's kind of blurry. It's kind of smudgy. Look at that. And Aaron Aerosmith. 1804, right when shit was hitting the fan. And yeah, it's all blurry, and it looks like there's a big mudslide or something from that lake, the inland lake, which makes sense if you have a major flood that happens. You're going to have that happen, you know. Now, what I mean is, I think there was a lake around there that broke open and it just wiped out the entirety of the West. And I'm not sure how the island of California became that, but became what it is now, no longer an island. Now, some people may say, oh, well, they thought California was an island. Well, it was a little more specific than that. They thought California was an island over and over again, exactly about the same way. They mapped it, and there were the islands between the big island of California and the mainland, which you don't see in Baja, between the Baja Peninsula and Mexico. So it couldn't have been that. Besides, the latitude was wrong. These people could They knew their latitude. My gosh, they knew exactly. Longitude was a problem to know exactly what the longitude is because you had to have an accurate timepiece. That's how you can calculate the longitude. That's how they did it in the original way. Although, if you are really good at navigating by the stars, you can calculate longitude. There is a way. There is a way. It's kind of a lost art. I'm rediscovering it myself. And that was the original thing of what my book was going to be, but it's going to have to be the next book if I ever finish the first book, which I will. And I'm going to work on it a lot more after I move. I'm moving. And after I move, I can work on the book a lot more. So now, yeah, it looks like a smudge. I mean, definitely smudge there. It's like they just took sepia out and then they took a big pencil eraser and erased and smudged it. So in this map, if you look at it in the description, I guess in this case it would be the provenance and the description, but it's showing that this provides a valuable compendium of the state of knowledge of the American West just after the Louisiana Purchase and shortly before Lewis and Clark's phony baloney governmental expedition. It was published in the same year as the series of maps of North America, which appeared in Aerosmith and Lewis's New and Elegant Atlas, 1804, which Carl Wheat calls a remarkably clear epitome of the knowledge of the West at the moment when Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were poised for the takeoff of their history-making expedition. Trans-Mississippi West. Page 184. This map includes fascinating notes with its demarcations of Indian reservations and military posts such as the ruins of Fort Orleans and on the Missouri River and the villages of the Tall Indians and Marauders. At its northernmost bend, to the east of Stony Mountains. Goss, the mapping of North America. So if this is the epitome of knowledge, why does it have less detail and fewer cities marked and fewer islands and things than older maps? That has me very suspicious. In fact, this has less detail than maps over 100 years earlier in date. And maybe a lot more than that. Okay, this is UAP. I'm out. I'm going to stop.